Hey again. All right, so this is our third video and your last one to finish for Thursday. And then on Thursday, we will do one more example of finding a mean of grouped data. That one I have an example already on a handout ready for you guys. We were going to do it today. But so there might be a few in section 2.3 that you're not quite ready for. But this example right here is going to be a weighted mean. Okay, and a weighted mean and a grouped mean are similar. The idea, these are different because in the last video, I just gave you a list of data. We just found an average, meaning everything was weighted equally. Okay, so that's how this one's going to be different. When we talk about grouped means, we were talking about not taking a mean from a list of data, but instead having only a frequency table and trying to find the average not from the raw data, but from a table. Okay, so that's what we'll do together on Thursday to start the class off. So here we have a really common example of weighted mean. You'll see ones like this in your homework, and you'll see ones where you're trying to calculate your GPA, which is also a weighted average depending on how many credits and your score. So this example is just that you're, about midway through the semester and you're trying to figure out your average. On the syllabus that says tests are worth 15%, quizzes are worth 5%. Okay, so you're trying to figure out where you're at so far in the course. So really the only difference between this and the last example is that I can't just take these 5 numbers and add them up and divide by 5, because then it's assuming everything has been weighted equally, and we'll see that our tests are more. So what we do for this is we usually make a little table, okay, so we can account for all the different weights. So what we do, I label it like this. I take each of my x values, so those are all my scores, okay. So let's do that. So my scores, I have an 82, I have a 73, a 90, a 60, and a 77. And so next to each one, I'm going to put what its weight is. So I didn't do this before because they were weighted equally. But so now I'm going to take each one. So 82 is weighted what portion of my grade. So I'm going to put that in decimal notation. So that is weighted 15%, so 0.15. The 73 is weighted 0.15. The let's see, my 90 quizzes weighted 0.05, 5%, and so are all these quizzes. Okay, so then my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out, like, from that test score is of an 82, what portion of that, so that's going to give me a number of points that go towards my average. So my next column here, okay, it makes sense to we take each of our scores and times it by its weight. So that's our x times w. Okay, so if I took 82 times 0.15, I would get a 12.3. So that really means that I'm earning, towards my average, I'm earning 12.3 points from that test. Okay, if I got 100 on it, I would be earning 15 points. That's the most I can earn for that one test grade into my average. For my test 2, I had a 73, and if I times that by 0.15, I get 10.95, so that's how much I'm earning for that test. If I take my quiz, my first quiz of a 90, and times it by 0.05, I get 4.5 points for that. If I take my 60 and times it by my 0.05, I get 3 points there. And then for my 77, I get 3.85 points there. Okay, so sometimes our mistake would be right now, we know that an average sums things up and divides, okay? So we know that our average is going to sum something up. So there's our mu again. It's going to sum up these x times w's. Okay, this column right here, I'm going to take this column and I'm going to sum it. But if I do that, you're going to notice that your score is only going to be the sum of these columns right now. The sum of my x times w's is a 34.6. So that can't be my average. I haven't done really badly. And so the reason that right now I'm not done yet is because I would be done if I had my whole semester accounted for. If I took all my scores and I had 100% of my grade, well, then I'd be done. Then it would make more sense. But if you look at this, if I do the sum of my w's, I don't get 1.0, which means 100%. I actually only get 0.45. Okay, so in this case, with my mu, when I sum up that column, I have to divide by the sum of my weights. Okay, so let me put a little, I'm going to put it down here actually. If the sum of the weights equals 1, no need to divide. Because if the weights were 1, I'd be dividing by 1 and it wouldn't change. I really wouldn't have to do it. Okay, but in this case, I'm going to sum up. So I'm going to take my 34.6, which is the sum of that column, and I'm going to divide by 0.45. You notice that's going to make my average make much more sense. I'm dividing by a 0.45, which means my average is going to get larger, which we know it should. Okay, so if I end up doing that, let's see what we end up getting. So we have a 34.6 divided by 0.45. So we end up, now it comes up out to be 76.8 repeating. So if I had to round this, these are whole values. Again, using my rounding rule, I could say, let me move this over just a little bit. Oops. I could say that this is about 76.9. I would not round to the nearest whole number. I would always keep at least one more decimal place. But you're going to actually, in my stat lab, it will tell you to round to the nearest tenth or hundredth. And that's where my stat lab can get tricky. You have to pay attention to those, otherwise you end up losing full credit for our problem. Okay, but so with these test scores, my average ends up being right now a 76.9 approximately. So that is my weighted average. Okay, so like I said, on Thursday, we'll do an example of a grouped average, okay, from a frequency table. But for now, you should be all set to do probably about 90% of section 2.3, so that will be open as well. Okay, I will see you guys on Thursday.